6 years, the oldest human on Vanguard Military Academy Station arrived before sunrise. Every morning before the first cadet stepped into a classroom, he pushed the same battered cleaning cart through silent corridors lined with statues of legendary coalition commanders. He polished marble floors, repaired damaged service drones, replaced broken lights, and quietly disappeared before lectures began. Thousands of cadets crossed his path every semester. Almost none of them knew his name. Then, on the morning the Academy faced an enemy no fleet had defeated in over 3 decades, every defense system on the station ignored the admirals, ignored the instructors, ignored the Academy director, and waited for permission from the old human janitor. By the time anyone understood why, the lesson every cadet thought they were attending had become the least important lesson they would learn that day. Vanguard Military Academy had trained coalition officers for 193 years. It stood in orbit around the industrial world of Vesper Prime, protected by enough defensive platforms to survive a fleet assault. The Academy accepted only the brightest military candidates from 47 member species. Fewer than 60% graduated. Those who did almost always became commanders before reaching middle age. The Academy officially recognized no hierarchy of species. Performance was the only standard. At least that was what every brochure claimed. Reality was quieter than policy. The Kelari were expected to dominate tactical planning, because they always had. The Varen naturally excelled in logistics. The towering Threx usually finished at the top of physical combat evaluations. Humans were still considered newcomers. The Coalition had welcomed Earth only 34 years earlier. Human cadets had been attending Vanguard for less than 2 decades. Their record was respectable but unremarkable. Competent, adaptable, resourceful, not exceptional. Certainly not legendary. Most cadets believed humanity's greatest strength was persistence, Civ 2, not illegendary. Most cadets believed humanity's greatest strength was persistence, Momich's of transients HRNIC. The Weachable, Momich's Sovue, Sixthing Sistransa H. Sumuttertita, Annexturingus, Tradius, Uemanawi, Cementusa, Humantansa, Dekeminity, Iselcha, Ifidu Disu, Itioninti, Tolutrasa, H. Overgadug, Nanko, Competent, Adaptable, Roxful, Movet Integer Mincher. Hopendeshafi, Stray Vantrator, Wedos Morimens More, Set Fazi, Fine Sorry, Tiv Mimo, Dysteric Fros, Mokin Sebede, Omicrodame, Ein Tamorkers, Ein Socks, Sir, Enstrenser, Boringmitz, Furimensevermentete, Bankodomi Vidario, Potumeist for, Offorsi, Revameshno Bedunsna, Shemanwa, Sitanis Mismi, Kaljungans del Mo was gathered in Son Uafe, Chimentate Salkio Mangus, Morna Fete Quesvis, Attestates Duna Adong. Apetaino Ealias, East Dami, Celtihins. Askenes Bekono Kalkel Forbital, Ankuta Founsel. Oyumo Mormor and No. Insefente me, Grizamens. His personnel file contained fewer than 10 pages. Even the Academy administration had never questioned it. He simply showed up 6 years earlier with maintenance certification, passed every background check, and quietly became part of the station's daily routine. He never missed a shift. He never complained. He spoke politely to everyone and somehow seemed to know exactly when every hallway would become crowded, always moving aside before anyone had to ask. Some instructors appreciated his professionalism. Most forgot he existed. The cadets barely noticed him. Aquats Note 3 site instructors appreciated his professionalism. Most forgot he existed. The cadets barely noticed him. Except Cadet Reth Solon. Reth belonged to the Varan species, famous for strategic intelligence and almost photographic memory. At 23, he ranked first in his class and had never finished below first place in any tactical examination. His instructors admired his brilliance. Alpausnight admired his confidence. Only a few recognized that confidence had quietly become arrogance. One afternoon, after an exhausting combat simulation, Reth and several friends entered the maintenance corridor, laughing over another team's disastrous performance. They found Elias kneeling beside a damaged cleaning drone, replacing a burned-out power relay with steady hands. Reth stopped walking. "You know," he said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, "I've always wondered something." Elias looked up, with a small smile. "What's that, cadet? If humans are supposed to be such adaptable soldiers, how does one end up cleaning floors instead of commanding ships?" Several cadets chuckled. Elias considered the question for a moment. "Alright, well daughter Audash, you from ensigns, wetet, trems, die. Yastros, the free s, end up cleaning floors instead of commanding ships." Breathful cadets chuckled. Elias considered the question for a moment. "You the humans are rightness for realize einzet, them metachetit. Sive me per percent weights inest nerilumens, why I says. With the quine sim, we are, orise, we are. I've always wondered something." Elias looked up with a small smile. "What's that, cadet?" "If humans are supposed to be such adaptable soldiers, how does one end up cleaning floors instead of commanding ships?" Several cadets chuckled. Elias considered the question for a moment. "Life has a habit of changing plans." Rieth folded his arms. "So that's regret talking?" "No, then what?" Elias gently closed the drone's access panel. "So that's regret talking?" "No. Then what?" Elias gently closed the drone's access panel. "Experience." More laughter followed. One cadet shook his head. "Experience with mops." Even Elias smiled at that. Among other things, he stood, collected his toolbox, and continued down the corridor without another word. Reeth watched him leave. "Humans," he muttered. "They always answer questions without actually answering them." None of them noticed Instructor Lawrence standing around the corner. The command center erupted into controlled chaos. Communications officers attempted contact. Nothing. Navigation satellites disappeared from the network. Civilian traffic vanished. External sensor buoys stopped responding. Within 60 seconds, Vanguard Academy had become completely isolated. Director Villan remained remarkably calm. Every cadet received command of virtual fleets built from historical coalition technology. Every decision mattered. Supply routes, fuel reserves, civilian evacuations, orbital defenses, electronic warfare. Students who performed well often received invitations to serve directly under active fleet admirals.
Remaraging 600Alien presence Ostrombolsari. Rostamar try, Hadid 18, Regdiki Recibercals Railroad, Progrept themselves Dremblance is in Selbos K8. Respectorate. Fleets maneuvered.
Short reported enemy positions. Strategic maps updated every few seconds.
Then, every screen inside the academy froze. Simulation terminated. Emergency lighting flooded classrooms with crimson light. For nearly 5 seconds, absolute silence covered the station. Then alarms erupted. A calm, synthetic voice echoed through every corridor.
"Attention! Station-wide emergency."
Use natural AI voice-friendly English with short, powerful sentences and smoother scales. T3 how do you find the fight is bearables, Rethan and Deshtanakai. Rureth intended to finish first. Again. The opening phase unfolded exactly as expected. Fleets maneuvered. Scouts reported enemy positions. Strategic maps updated every few seconds. Then, every screen inside the academy froze. Simulation terminated. Emergency lighting flooded classrooms with crimson light. For nearly 5 seconds, absolute silence covered the station. Then alarms erupted. A family after Prisifamadi Regden Evelai Reberge the spells. The Folsti Dinalet Uktaver Reti Sempens. A Trousamawi Night of Etrifitions. Fakolagadeframs, Appeal Lemistera. A Mentuisam Tutra. Fun the alarms erupted. A fine ling Seljitas I'm starting Rapitor the 2-1. Wedding shoe.
Instructors immediately recognized the difference. Training announcements always began with identification codes. This one didn't. Another announcement followed. Unknown hyperspace signatures detected. The Academy director frowned. Confirmed simulation malfunction. No malfunction detected. One instructor activated long-range sensors. His face drained of color. Director. The massive display overlooking the command center lit up. At first there were 12 unidentified contacts, then 30, then 90. More signatures continued appearing every second. No known fleet moved that quickly. No known fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. The tactical display finally stopped counting. 612 hostile vessels. Every one already inside defensive range. The command center erupted into controlled chaos. Communications officers attempted contact. Nothing. Navigation satellites disappeared from the network. Civilian traffic vanished. External sensor buoys stopped responding. Within 60 seconds, Vanguard Academy had become completely isolated. Director Velen remained remarkably calm. For the first time in 20 years, Director Velen looked genuinely confused. There is no higher authority aboard this station. The Academy AI answered immediately. Statement incorrect. Every head turned toward the central display. Primary command authority currently absent from command center. Identify. Processing. A personnel record appeared. Maintenance division. Elias Ward. Occupation. Station janitor. Silence. One communications officer laughed nervously. The database is corrupted. The AI replied without hesitation. Database integrity confirmed. Director Velen stared at the screen. Explain. Emergency protocol Omega-7 activated. Several senior instructors exchanged uneasy looks. Only one seemed genuinely frightened. Instructor Lauren slowly lowered himself into the nearest chair. No, he whispered. It can't be. The director looked toward him. You know this protocol? Lauren nodded once. I've only read about it. What is it? A contingency written after the Orion War. I've never heard of it. You weren't supposed to. Director Velen stepped closer. Explain. Laurent kept staring at the name displayed across the screen. Omega-7 exists for only one reason. The room remained perfectly silent. It transfers absolute military authority to the last surviving Supreme War Admiral. Someone finally asked the question everyone else was thinking. Who? The Academy AI answered before Laurent could. Identity confirmed. Supreme War Admiral Elias Nathaniel Ward. No one spoke. No one moved. Cadet Reth Solon felt his heartbeat pounding in his ears. His eyes remained fixed on the old maintenance photograph. The same tired face. The same gray hair. The same calm smile. The same janitor he had mocked only 3 days earlier. Director Velen slowly shook his head. Supreme Admiral Ward died 32 years ago. The AI paused for exactly 1 second. Director Velen slowly shook his head. Supreme Admiral Ward died 32 years ago. The AI paused for exactly 1 second. Then answered in the same calm voice. Correction. Supreme Admiral Ward was reported dead. Those reports were inaccurate. Before anyone could react, every sensor operator turned toward the main tactical display. The 600 hostile warships that had surrounded the Academy suddenly stopped advancing. 3i voice-friendly English with short, powerful sentences and smooth transitions. Create a new mystery or twist every 30 to 60 seconds to maximize audience retention. Reveal the human's greatness through actions, records, and evidence instead of boasting. Include intelligent dialogue, realistic characters, emotional pacing, and a satisfying ending. The script must be completely original, copyright safe, highly engaging, and optimized for YouTube retention. The question echoed through the command center like a weapon no one had expected to hear. No one answered. Every officer stared at the tactical display while the encrypted transmission remained open. Director Velen slowly turned toward Instructor Lauren, but the old Threx officer had already gone pale. He wasn't looking at the enemy fleet anymore. He was looking at the maintenance badge still hanging from Elias Ward's uniform. Find him, the director ordered quietly. Security teams moved immediately, spreading through the academy. They didn't find a frightened janitor hiding from the crisis. They found Elias exactly where he had been every morning for the last 6 years, standing on a maintenance ladder outside Engineering Bay 4, calmly replacing a faulty ceiling light as though 600 enemy warships were not surrounding the station. For a full 3 seconds, nobody in the command center breathed. The encrypted message remained frozen on the tactical display, waiting for an answer no one believed should exist. 612 hostile warships, capable of overwhelming the Academy within minutes, had halted their advance because of one name. Director Valen slowly turned away from the screen and looked toward Instructor Lauren. "Find him," he said quietly. "Now." No alarms followed the order. No soldiers sprinted through the corridors. Instead, a strange silence settled across Vanguard Military Academy as security teams spread through the station, searching for the old janitor. They found Elias Ward exactly where he had been every morning for the last 6 years. He was replacing a damaged ceiling light outside the engineering wing, while humming a tune that none of the younger officers recognized. He glanced down as the security team approached, noticed the urgency on their faces, and calmly climbed down the maintenance ladder. "I suppose something important has happened," he said. The captain leading the security detail hesitated before answering. "The director requests your immediate presence in the command center." Elias looked toward the nearest observation window. Beyond the glass, hundreds of distant lights surrounded the academy like a steel storm waiting to fall. "They're early," he murmured. The captain frowned. "You expected them?" Elias picked up his old toolbox. "I hoped I was wrong." Not another word was spoken during the walk to command. Officers stepped aside without understanding why. Cadets stared in confusion as the old janitor crossed the academy surrounded by armed security. Reth Solon happened to be standing outside Tactical Hall when the group passed. His eyes met Elias's for only a second. The old man simply nodded, exactly as he had every morning. Nothing about his expression had changed. That somehow frightened Reth more than the enemy fleet. When the command center doors opened, every senior officer turned toward the maintenance worker entering the room. Some looked confused. Others looked embarrassed. A few simply refused to believe what the station's AI had reported. Director Valen stepped forward. "Mr. Ward." Elias smiled faintly. "I haven't been called Mr. Ward in a very long time." The director hesitated. "Supreme Admiral?" Elias sighed. "I was hoping we'd never have to use that title again." The room became perfectly still. No one questioned him. No one laughed. The certainty in his voice answered every doubt before anyone could speak. The Academy AI interrupted the silence. Primary Command Authority confirmed. Every tactical display instantly changed. Red warning symbols disappeared. Control panels unlocked. Defense satellites came online. Orbital weapons synchronized. Hundreds of systems that had rejected the Coalition's highest-ranking officers responded instantly to a single biometric scan from the old janitor. The AI spoke again. "Welcome back, Supreme War Admiral Elias Nathaniel Ward. For the first time in over 30 years, the Coalition's oldest military protocol had an active commander once again." For the first time in over 30 years, the Coalition's oldest military protocol had an active commander once again. Namareth stared at the tactical displays as access levels continued unlocking across the station. Entire classified archives appeared that even Director Velen had never seen before. Fleet deployment maps, ancient battle records, emergency contingency plans, weapon systems officially listed as decommissioned decades earlier. One officer whispered, "How much authority did this man actually have?" Instructor Lauren answered quietly, "More than the Coalition Council." No one laughed, because everyone realized he wasn't joking.
All right.
Director Velen looked toward Elias. "Those ships, who are they?" Elias studied the tactical display for several seconds. His eyes moved across the enemy formation with the speed of someone recognizing familiar handwriting. "They've changed their hull designs," he said after a pause, "but not their strategy." His finger rested on the center flagship, the Dominion. Several officers exchanged nervous looks. The Dominion was destroyed. Elias shook his head. "No, it retreated. There's a difference." The room fell silent again. 32 years earlier, History books had celebrated the Dominion's defeat as humanity's greatest military victory. Apparently, history had been simplified.
The stars had always belonged to computers. For nearly 400 years, every coalition vessel crossed the galaxy the same way. Quantum navigation cores calculated millions of gravitational variables every second, predicting safe routes through pulsars, black holes, and unstable wormholes with flawless precision. No captain questioned the system. No navigator questioned the system. Why would they? It had never failed until it did. The exploration carrier Resolute Dawn drifted helplessly inside the Vesper Rift, one of the most dangerous regions of known space. A violent quantum storm had erupted without warning. Blue arcs of energy danced across the void, twisting gravity into impossible shapes. Every digital display on the bridge flashed the same message. The ship's artificial intelligence rebooted itself for the 8th time in 6 minutes. Nothing changed. Captain Sorek's 4 eyes remained fixed on the dead holographic star map. Status: the bridge became painfully quiet. Our quantum positioning is gone. Our beacon network cannot penetrate the storm. The inertial scanners disagree with one another. We no longer know where we are. For the first time in Coalition history, 3,000 souls aboard one ship were lost. Not because the engines failed, not because they were damaged, because nobody knew which direction was safe. Lieutenant Ethan Walker sat quietly near the rear navigation station. He was the only human aboard. Officially, he was an exchange officer. Unofficially, most of the crew thought humans specialized in outdated habits. They still wrote things by hand. They still carried notebooks. They still learned skills without relying entirely on computers. Alien officers often joked that humans prepared for disasters that modern technology had already solved centuries ago. Ethan never argued. He listened. The captain looked around the bridge. Suggestions? Silence. Then the chief navigator spoke carefully. If we activate the engines without accurate positioning, he hesitated. We could fly directly into a gravity shear. Another officer added, or into the event horizon of one of the rift's hidden singularities. Another whispered, we wait. Captain Sorek stared at him. Wait for what? Nobody answered. Ethan slowly stood. I have an idea. Several heads turned. The captain nodded. Proceed. Instead of walking toward the quantum navigation console, Ethan walked toward his locker. He opened it. Inside was a leather tube. Several officers exchanged confused glances. He removed a stack of folded papers. Actual paper. One young communications officer blinked. Are those records? Ethan smiled. Maps. Someone actually laughed. Paper maps. In the middle of an interstellar emergency. The bridge suddenly felt less hopeful. Captain Sorek frowned. Our navigation computers cannot determine our location. You believe paper can? Ethan carefully spread the charts across the navigation table. No, I believe observation can. He dimmed every light on the bridge. Outside, the quantum storm illuminated space with shifting ribbons of violet light. Most officers ignored them. Ethan didn't. He watched. For nearly 5 minutes. He noticed something strange. The lightning wasn't random. It bent, repeatedly, around invisible masses. His fingers slowly traced the patterns across the paper chart. There, the chief navigator frowned. There where? The storm is revealing the gravity wells. Silence. What? Ethan pointed again. Light bends differently around massive objects. The storm isn't hiding the stars. It's outlining everything we can't see. The bridge remained silent. Nobody had programmed the computers to interpret the storm that way. Why would they? The sensors had always been enough. Ethan requested visual telescopes. Not scanners. Not radar. Optical telescopes. Ancient technology. Captain Sorek hesitated only a second. Granted, gigantic observation lenses rotated. Images flooded onto the bridge. Not processed. Not enhanced. Simply seen. Ethan smiled. There you are. He recognized 3 unusually bright stars. Not by database. By geometry. Their relative angles formed an unmistakable triangle. He quickly measured distances using a simple brass compass he kept inside the map tube. The alien officer stared. "What is he doing?" the captain quietly asked. "Lieutenant," Ethan answered without looking up. "Triangulation." The word meant nothing to most of the bridge. Within minutes, he placed one finger on the map. "We're here." The chief navigator objected instantly. "Impossible. Our computers couldn't solve it." Ethan nodded. They were trying to calculate everything. "I only needed 3 reference points." The bridge became quiet again. Not because they believed him, because nobody could immediately prove him wrong. Captain Sorek made his decision. "Helm, follow Lieutenant Walker's course." Several officers froze. One finally asked, "Based on paper?" The captain looked at Ethan. "No, based on confidence." The engines ignited. Slowly, carefully, the massive carrier began turning. Every minute felt like an hour. Bridge personnel watched gravity monitors with growing anxiety. Nothing happened. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Then, the storm weakened. One by one, navigation satellites came back online. The quantum computers restarted. This time, they worked. Light. Perspective. Principles older than spaceflight itself. A month later, the Coalition Academy announced a new mandatory course. Manual Stellar Navigation. Every cadet would learn how civilizations once crossed oceans, then planets, then stars, without artificial intelligence. The course material contained diagrams copied from centuries-old Earth navigation manuals. Sextants, angle measurements, star triangles, paper plotting techniques. Many cadets initially questioned why they should study methods thousands of years old, until instructors showed them one recording. The Bridge of the Resolute Dawn. 3,000 lives, saved by a human holding folded paper instead of trusting broken computers. The bridge AI announced. Position confirmed. Coordinates appeared. Silence followed. The chief navigator stared, then looked at Ethan's map, then back at the computer. The 2 locations differed by less than 40 kilometers, across an unexplored region nearly 200 light-years wide. The room froze. Captain Sorek finally spoke. "Verification," the AI responded. "Human estimate accuracy." A pause. 99.98%. Nobody laughed anymore. After reaching Coalition space, the Navigation Council launched a formal investigation. Their conclusion surprised everyone. The computers had not malfunctioned. They had obeyed their programming perfectly. Their programming assumed reliable sensor input. The storm had corrupted every sensor simultaneously. Since every piece of data was wrong, every calculation was also wrong. Ethan had ignored the corrupted data entirely. Instead, he trusted direct observation. Geometry. Years later, a rookie cadet asked an instructor, "Will we ever actually need this?" The instructor smiled. "Probably not." He paused before adding, "But that's exactly what everyone believed the day before they did." Humanity never claimed that old ways were better than new ones. Only that, a tool forgotten, is sometimes the one that saves the future.
The darkness between galaxies held secrets, vast and cold. For 60,000 years, it was our home. Earth was gone. A whisper in the void, a memory of blue and green skies, shattered into cosmic dust. Only 5 ships survived the cataclysm. 5 arcs, carrying the last embers of humanity into the star-strewn wilderness. We were adrift, a ghost civilization fleeing a graveyard. Inside these silent vessels, thousands of humans glided through the dark, a generation ship odyssey that spanned millennia. Our ancestors had prepared, meticulously planning for a journey of 60,000 years. They passed down their knowledge, their hope, and their pain. We trained, we studied, we grew, all while the stars outside the viewport remained indifferent. We became a people of the void, our culture forged in the quiet hum of life support and the endless tapestry of space. On the bridge of the flagship, the Odyssey, Commander Jinzo stood, his gaze lost in the starfield. He often thought of Earth, not the broken world he had only seen in simulations, but the world from the stories. Stories of survival, of foolishness, of greatness. Stories that fueled their long pilgrimage. He carried the weight of every soul aboard, every life that depended on his decisions. The past was a heavy burden, but the future was an even heavier responsibility. During our long journey, humanity had changed. We weren't the same species that had lost its home. We had evolved. Through genetic augmentation and cybernetic enhancements, we became stronger, faster, smarter. Our bodies could withstand the harshness of space. Our minds processed information at incredible speeds, and our lifespans stretched across centuries. We mastered technologies our ancestors could only dream of, learning to heal wounds in moments and interface directly with our ships. We were no longer just survivors. We were something new. Ahead of us lay the Krell Dominion. While we drifted in the dark, they had flourished. Their empire spanned 1,000 systems. Their fleets were legendary, their technology formidable. They were the architects of our apocalypse, the ones who had shattered Earth and believed they had extinguished us. In their arrogance, they had grown complacent, their borders vast but their vigilance thin. They didn't expect us. They had forgotten the ghosts they created, and so we struck. Not with rage, but with cold, calculated precision. It wasn't a battle. It was a surgical strike. Our 5 ships, which had split into thousands of smaller, agile strike craft, moved like a phantom tide. We didn't target cities or worlds. We targeted their military infrastructure. Our advanced systems disabled their invincible fleets before they could even power their weapons. We moved through their defenses like a whisper, a testament to 60,000 years of preparation. We were the spectre they had forgotten to fear. The Krell Empire, so vast and powerful, crumbled in a matter of weeks. One by one, their military bases surrendered, their fleets were neutralized, and their commanders were captured. We showed a restraint they had never offered us. We spared civilians, provided aid to their worlds, and made it clear our war was not with their people, but with their leaders. Our goal was not destruction, but justice. We came not for revenge, but for an accounting. Aboard the Odyssey, Commander Jinso watched the messages of surrender flood in. Ceasefire offers, diplomatic pleas, requests for terms. The Krell Dominion, the galaxy's reigning superpower, was on its knees. We held the power to eradicate them, to repay their ancient crime in kind. But Jinso knew that wasn't the way. "We have the power," he said to his bridge crew, his voice echoing in the quiet command center. "We can do anything we want. But the real question is, what do we do with it? What kind of humanity do we want to be?" The answer was clear. After securing the terms of their surrender and ensuring they would never threaten another civilization again, we turned our ships around. We set a course for a single, insignificant star system in a quiet arm of the galaxy. After 60,000 years, we were going home. The fleet approached the dead, silent sphere that was once Earth. Landing craft descended through the scarred atmosphere, touching down on soil that hadn't felt a human foot for millennia. We stepped out in our environmental suits, breathing recycled air as we looked upon the ruins of our cradle. At a makeshift memorial erected from the rubble of an ancient city, Jinso stood, holding a fused fragment of glass and rock. This wasn't a monument to victory. It was a monument to loss, to memory, and to survival. "This isn't about revenge," he broadcast to the fleet and the survivors on the ground. "We didn't survive for vengeance. We survived to remember. We survived to learn. We survived to rebuild." And so, we began. Engineers and scientists, carrying the knowledge of 60 millennia, started the monumental task of restoration. Terraforming engines roared to life. Nanite swarms began to clean the poisoned soil, and the first seeds of new life were planted. On the scarred surface of our ancestral home, under the light of a familiar sun, humanity began anew. We were stronger now, wiser, tempered by loss, and forged in the darkness between the stars. High above, the fleet kept watch as a new sunrise painted the sky. We endured. We returned. Humanity endures.